Hi, real quick before we get started, this is like my first real video. I mean, I've made some before, but like, this one's like a long one. And this is the second time that I wrote this little script because the first one got deleted right as soon as I was finished with it. So that was fun. And after a quick cry and a scream, hours later, I sat down, I was defeated, and I began typing this new one. Am I qualified to analyze, break down, or just talk about like in-depth movies and films? No, not really. But I love movies. And one time when I was 14, I wrote and directed a terrible short film. So here I am with too much unearned confidence, about to do it anyway. Yeah, so with all of that said, let's watch Trainwreck.
So the movie starts with Amy Townsend and her little sister Kim as kids, with their dad telling them that he's divorcing their mother. He makes them repeat the phrase, monogamy isn't realistic, even though they're children and have no idea what it means. Fast forward 23 years and Amy's a writer or an editor at a men's magazine and has a lot of, adult fun time partners, wink wink. Which there's nothing wrong with, but this was like 2015, so she's kind of looked down on for it. So we see her banging dudes in a montage as she narrates, saying that the key is to never let them sleep over. Oh, by the way, she has a boyfriend during all of this who's played by John Cena. His name is Steven, but I'm not going to call him that. And she's basically been cheating on him this entire time, so that's great. We then go to her job where she works at a men's magazine. The articles they write are always kind of mean-spirited and a bit trashy. Remember that. Anyway, this one dude pitches an article about Dr. Aaron Connors, a young sports physician who has invented this revolutionary knee insert thing that cuts recovery time in half. And he's about to perform this surgery on Amare Stoudemire, the first time it's been done on a pro athlete. And he says if they do this, they'll have access to all the huge athletes. And then Amy talks about how sports are stupid and so are sports fans, and her boss is like, okay, you'll do the Aaron Connors piece. Then boss Tilda tells Amy she's looking for a new executive editor, and ooh boy, Amy wants that position. Amy then rambles about her dad's nursing home that's like really expensive, and then Amy has to take the intern under her wing and like show him around and stuff. So now we meet the sister Kim. She's married, has a stepson, and hates hers and Amy's dad. As she should, because spoiler alert, he's an asshole. Amy's an ass to her nephew and her brother-in-law, and then they're boxing up their dad's stuff, and Kim wants to get rid of a lot of it, and Amy wants to keep the stuff. And they kind of just talk about how their dad was an asshole, and Amy's like, well, I don't really see it that way. Now we get a completely unnecessary and weird sex scene between Amy and John, moving on because the scene literally serves no purpose. And then they're at the nursing home, and her dad is a dick. He asks for his stuff, and Amy's like, Kim made me throw it away, she's evil. And then he pouts and is all moody about it. Yay! Finally, ladies, men, and non-binary friends, the moment we've all been waiting for. Please welcome Dr. Aaron Baby Girl Connors. I mean Dr. Aaron, regular name Connors. Amy meets Aaron in his office to go over schedules for the interview, and then LeBron James walks in, and basically he and Aaron are besties. Aaron immediately picks up on the fact that Amy doesn't like sports.
Do you follow sports?
Oh my god. Sports? I love them.
Who are your favorite teams?
I like smaller teams, like not the big leagues. I like the, Long Island mediums.
The Acorn Pine Cones. The Fire Island Penguins. I like the Cincinnati Thunder Wizards.
You can stop.
The Orlando Balloons.
You can stop. You don't follow sports.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Is this supposed to be like playful banter or flirting? Because it doesn't come off that way. Anyway, then Amy is homophobic and racist and apparently knows no black people. Amy and John are at the movies. She leaves to smoke pot, and when he comes back, he finds a bunch of texts from other men on her phone and breaks up with her for cheating on him. Also, John talks about how he wants a family or whatever, and Amy teases him and doesn't even care that he's hurt. Then Amy and Kim are at lunch, and Kim tells Amy that she's pregnant, and Amy's not very excited about it, but she's like, oh my gosh, you have to tell Dad, so they go to the nursing home. Her dad responds with, finally, I'm a grandfather, and Kim is like, you're already a grandfather, referring to Alistair, the stepson, and then the dad proceeds to make fun of Alistair, and apparently Amy did too, and Kim gets very upset and leaves. So then Amy's at the hospital interviewing Aaron. They're talking about Doctors Without Borders, and Amy is genuinely confused that Aaron enjoys helping people. what a great lady. So he's showing her around, looking at all the fancy equipment, and they're on this treadmill thing that shows how your muscles are working and moving, and it can help improve your posture and gait. But Amy is silly. She's a silly girl, and she won't take it seriously because she's silly. She keeps cracking jokes, and I think it's supposed to be like an opposites attract thing, where he's more serious and she's a jokester, but he thinks it's kind of funny. But it just comes off as Aaron being annoyed, but patient with her. Anyway, Amy gets a text from Kim saying that she wants to put their dad in a cheaper nursing home, and Amy has a little freak out, a little panic moment. So anyway, he helps her calm down, and it's a cute moment between the two. He asks if she's had anything to eat, and she's like,
I barely ate it all. I had chips and a red velvet yogurt and 2 scones and Chipotle.
and Aaron's like,
So you had breakfast, lunch, and a snack? Okay.
and he asks her out to dinner. So they go out to dinner, and he's talking about his parents and how they put pressure on him.
Put a lot of pressure on me. I was their only child, so maybe they didn't put a lot of pressure on me. I just put the pressure on myself because they did so much great stuff, but no, they put pressure on me.
And then he's like, I read some of your stuff, it's not bad. And she's embarrassed because she's low-key ashamed to write for that magazine. So she's all, I've written other stuff too. And Aaron is like, can I read some of it? And she's like, sure. And then he asks her out for a drink, and Amy is like, yeah. So they go out drinking, and Aaron is telling childhood stories. They get into a cab, and Aaron assumes that they're sharing it and just going to their separate homes. But Amy's like, you want to give him your address? And he's like, oh, okay. So they go back to his place, and they bang. And she breaks her rule, and sleeps over. And they're snuggling, but she's uncomfortable because, ew, vulnerability and intimacy. And so she asks him to, get off, and he's like, oh, sorry, and is, respectful of her boundaries, love to see it. The way I interpret this scene is that she keeps nagging him to annoy him on purpose so that she can leave, but it doesn't work. She's just like, maybe I should go, I don't want to annoy you. But he's like, no, it's fine. So the next day at work, the intern is, asking Amy questions about interviewing, and he's like, what's the worst thing you can do during an interview? And she's like, don't sleep with them. And then her boss, Tilda, shows up and is like, Amy, I want you to succeed and get this promotion. And then leaves. So her friend finally shows up, and they talk about how she banged Aaron. Amy's like, I was barely drinking, except I had 4 drinks. And her friend is like, yeah, but was he good? And Amy's like, I mean, yeah. And then, oh no, Aaron calls Amy, it's the end of the world. And they're like, oh my god, he's crazy. And he's like, hey, I had a great time, want to hang out again? So she says, yeah, okay. Aaron and LeBron are talking about how Aaron hasn't had any girlfriends for 6 years, which I find a little unbelievable, but anyway, more on that later. LeBron is like, don't screw this one up, make it work with her, and keeps giving him advice. In the next scene, Aaron is doing some surgery, and Amy has to observe and take notes and whatnot, and she gets grossed out and pukes. Also, Aaron is humming along to Uptown Girl, and it's the cutest thing ever. Afterwards, Amy immediately starts knocking his music taste and is like, why that song? It's terrible. And he's like, no, it's my favorite song. And so for some reason, he asks her out again. Amy's like, what? No. And he's like, no, I like you. Do you like me? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, all right, then let's go out. I think we should start dating. And then she's like, and then her phone rings, and oh no, her dad fell. Oh boy, another scene with Amy's awful dad. So he fell and busted his head open. The nurse assisting him tells Amy the doctors won't respond to his pages. Amy's dad is racist to the nurse. Aaron sews up the wound. Amy's dad is rude to him. And then Aaron starts humming Billy Joel. And the dad is like, oh, I like Billy Joel. Then the nurse pulls Amy aside and tells her that her dad has been hoarding his medication. And Amy just kind of ignores it. And then they're leaving the place, and Amy's all, thanks, ooh, and Aaron is all like, no problem, ooh. And then Amy asks Aaron to come home with her, and Aaron is like, let's get raviolis, and kisses her. And then Amy and Kim are at the park, and Amy's all vulnerable and admits that she really likes Aaron, but she's scared that somehow she'll scare him away, like leaving a bloody tampon in the toilet. Wait, who flushes a tampon? Anyway, her sister's like, girl, you'll be fine. And then they're at some kind of basketball thingy, and the cheerleaders come out, and for some reason Amy just hates them. Anyway, so one of the cheerleaders hurts her ankle, so Aaron gets up to take a look at it, and in comes LeBron James to steal the show as the comedy king. He cracks me up every time.
So, you get butterflies when you hear his name?
Yes?
I really have to ask you a question. Don't hurt him.
Halfway point, woohoo! More narration. So it's a montage of them going on dates and being in love. They're having a picnic and at the park, riding a subway. And she keeps talking about how, like, ooh, everything is so, like, gross and sickening because it's so sweet, and I agree, it's very sappy. She says, even my dad likes him, and he doesn't like anyone, and I'm like, wow, really? We would never know that. And now she lets him cuddle up with her. Aw, character development. Alright, detour. So there was a deleted scene here that honestly they really should have kept. We'll talk more about it later, but just keep it in mind. Basically, Aaron is writing an acceptance speech for this award ceremony, and he's really nervous about it and asks if he can just give the speech to Amy, and she's like, yeah, totally. They go out drinking, and it gets crazy. We'll talk more in depth about it later. Back to the movie. So Aaron and LeBron are playing basketball, talking about Amy. Aaron admits that Amy does have a few faults, like her drinking. LeBron starts quoting Kanye West at Aaron, warning him that, hey, maybe Amy isn't all that great. But Aaron is like, no, she's awesome. I like her. And I'm like, how? How is she? Explain. Aaron then goes on to be adorable. Amy is visiting her piece of shit dad again, and she's talking about how Aaron is pushing her to think bigger for herself. We love a supportive boyfriend, but her dad is like, nah, he's gay, dude, because he's a surgeon? Fellas, is it gay to be a doctor? Anyway, then Amy's dad is racist again, and then he proceeds to be like, you're just gonna dump this nerd and move on to another guy like you always do. This upsets Amy, and she leaves. Amy and Aaron are going to Kim's baby shower. Aaron talks with the guys about all the athletes he works with. Then all the couples are sitting around and telling Amy she needs to have babies now. And they ask Aaron if he wants kids, and he's like, yeah, I want kids someday. And Amy starts to panic a little bit, which is valid. Kim pulls her aside to calm her down and tells her, dude, you'll be okay. People talk about this stuff. It's normal. Anyway, Kim's husband and Aaron are talking, and he makes a joke about Amy sleeping with the athletes, and Aaron is like, not having it.
Wait, what does that mean?
No, like, it was a joke, like, that she'd sleep with them.
I don't get the joke angle.
Then the women are playing a game where they tell secrets, and the other women tell pretty tame secrets, and Amy tells a graphic sex story, and it's awkward, until one of the women suddenly admits,
I let Tim and his brothers tag team me on Christmas morning. And you know what? It was wonderful.
Boo-hoo, Amy's dad died. Kim calls Amy to tell her the news and how he was hoarding his meds and his heart gave out, and oh, remember that? The nurse told Amy he was hoarding his meds and she didn't do anything. And this is supposed to be sad, but like, I don't care about that character because he was unlikable and had no redeeming qualities. Amy is giving the eulogy, and it starts with her openly admitting that he was racist and homophobic and probably offended everyone at the funeral. She tells stories about how he was an alcoholic, he beat up a child, how he was awful to their mother, but then goes on to say that he always made her feel loved and special, and I'm like, when and how? Show me, don't tell me, baby, is one of the biggest rules of writing, and we have yet to see him being kind to anyone. And then there's this bullshit moment where she's like, raise your hand if he was your favorite person. And of course, everyone raises their hand. And again, I'm like, how? Not realistic or believable. Amy is crying through this whole speech. And again, I just don't feel anything for this character. He's supposed to be a lovable asshole, but he's just a straight up asshole. I'll get into that later. Moving on. Afterwards, Kim is trying to talk to Amy, just, you know, because their dad died. And Alistair walks up asking for food, and like, you know those parents that feed their kids like healthy, organic stuff? I think that's what Kim does, and for some reason Amy has a problem with it, and is like, how about some pizza instead of that other crap? And hits a fight. And Kim is like, I'm not in the mood for jokes today, Amy. And Amy basically tells Kim that she doesn't get to pretend to feel sad today. And Kim is like, don't push me away. And Amy says Kim has been running from this family forever. Which, again, I don't blame Kim. Kim says she isn't crazy for getting married and having a child, and Amy's like, why are you here? You didn't even like him. As if it isn't also Kim's father. So Kim leaves, and Aaron comes up to Amy asking if she's okay, and tells Amy that he really cares about her and that he loves her. And Amy gets pissed at him for saying, I love you, for the first time at her dad's funeral. Listen, I know people grieve in different ways, but girl, you don't have to snap at him for saying he loves you. Like, come on. Aaron seems genuinely confused, and they leave. Back at work, her boss drops that they're canceling the Aaron piece because he's boring and unattractive. She shows Amy the photo shoot they tried to do and insults Aaron the entire time. These pictures do crack me up though, I'm not gonna lie. Moving on. Anyway, Amy has to write a new piece or else, uh-oh, no promotion. Remember that deleted scene I brought up earlier? It comes into play here. In this scene, Aaron and Amy are getting ready to go to this award ceremony, and Aaron is very nervous. Amy's wearing a more casual dress, and Aaron is like, is that like a formal dress? Gently trying to warn her that the ceremony is a formal event and these people are more conservative and the dress may not be appropriate. And is all, can you grab my tiara? It's by my gowns. Aaron gets a little annoyed and is like, never mind, forget I said anything. You look great, let's go. And then as they're walking into the place, Amy's like, why didn't you warn me? It was so formal. And I'm like, he did. You jumped down his throat. Okay, she didn't jump down his throat, but man, that annoys me. So then they're at the table and Amy is drinking a lot and the waiter asks if anyone wants more wine and Amy's like, yes, please. And Aaron says, Amy, it's a luncheon. Trying to get her to pace herself so that she doesn't get drunk at the super formal event that he told her he was super nervous about. But she says it's just wine and drinks it anyway. He gets called up on stage and as he starts his speech, Amy's boss calls her and is like, girl, if you don't pick up right now, you're fired. So Amy leaves the room to answer the phone and her boss is like, which article should we go with? And we see Aaron watch Amy leave and he looks so disappointed and hurt. The call seems to be over pretty quick. I don't really know how long the speech was because it kind of just cuts to the end with Aaron thanking them and leaving the stage. So he comes out to the hall and finds her smoking weed and is like, you left me in the middle of my speech and you're out here smoking weed, like what the hell? And she's like, no, I didn't come out here to smoke, my boss called me. And he's like, okay, well I really needed you in there. You knew that. And she gets all deflective and says,
I really can't take you seriously when you're holding that. Why'd you carry your award out here?
And he's like, you know I wanted to do that speech to you. And she says, I know, but I think I might get fired. And he says, that's not the point. You shouldn't have your phone on in the middle of my speech anyway. That was so disrespectful. She starts to leave and he's like, where are you going? And she says, they're fighting. They won't talk for a while. And Aaron is like, no, we'll just work it out like adults. And she's like,
what do you want? Why are you with me?
I love you.
Why do you keep saying that?
Because I mean it. I love you. I'm crazy about you.
What do you want me to say? We're just having a fight. You insulted me, and we'll talk about it and we'll work through it.
What's wrong with you that you want to be with me? I'm a drinker.
I don't care.
I've been with a lot of guys.
I don't care. I'm in it.
They're back at Amy's place and Aaron is like, my parents had a saying, never go to bed angry. So Amy, out of spite, starts a bunch of stupid arguments that were not relevant, like saying,
You want to get into it?
Yes.
Let's get into all of it right now. Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
I'll start. You go down on me too much.
He asks if he should stop going down on her and she says, no, don't spin this as a way to not go down on me, just forget this whole part of the argument. And I'm like, girl, it was never a part of the argument in the first place. Then they're making out and he's like, I'm so glad you apologized. And she gets pissed again and says she did not apologize, which is true. She didn't. Oh, by the way, Aaron has that huge surgery on Amare the next day and he needs sleep and Amy knows this. Keep that in mind. So she gets up and starts angry rambling about like anything and everything and Aaron keeps falling asleep and she yells at him to wake up. So the next day, Aaron is absolutely exhausted. They're about to do the surgery, like they gave Amari the anesthesia and everything. And he notices how out of it Aaron is. Aaron starts rambling about his and Amy's fight, and then he marks the wrong knee, and Amari is like, dude, are you sure you're okay? And Aaron is basically saying that Amy really blew up at him and he doesn't know what he did wrong.
I'm nervous. Amy was acting like a psycho last night. I don't know what I did.
So Amari is too nervous and he tries to get up and leave, but because of the anesthesia, he trips and falls. So they cancel and reschedule the surgery. Also, side note, how does Bill do this with his voice?
You gotta let me go to sleep. I have a surgery. And you know what she said? She said, no.
Aaron goes home to Amy, who has been smoking weed and watching TV all day. He tells her that they canceled the surgery because he was too tired from their fight. He admits that her smoking and drinking so much does bother him and that her multiple partners makes him feel unsafe or something. And she's like, okay, yeah, you should be with a girl you feel safe with. And he says that's not what he's saying. And she says, you should be with one of those cheerleaders.
Little Texan with huge hair and big tits. And then when you get married, she wants to be more conservative, so she just gets like smaller fake tits put in. But they still look amazing.
And then Aaron absolutely reads her to filth.
You know, the thing about cheerleaders is that they bring people together and they make people happy. Unlike you and your friends at your magazine who sit there and judge people from afar, because if you don't try, then you can't fail.
So he says that his surgery is in 2 days, so maybe they should take a break, and then after the surgery, they'll work this problem out. And Amy's like, it's fine, I know we're done, but it's okay.
Because I don't need to talk to you anymore, because the interview's over, because your article got canceled. My boss said you were too boring.
You win.
And Amy cries. And then immediately goes out partying. The next scene should not exist. Basically, Amy almost sleeps with the intern, and it turns out he's only 16. Ew. What the hell? After that, she's back at work and her boss says she read Amy's article on Aaron and admits that it's good, but she won't publish it because Amy is fired for almost sleeping with the underage intern. Sad montage. They're sad and lonely and miss each other. Next. Yay! Aaron successfully did the surgery! He's at home and for some reason they keep showing that stupid dog movie that has no meaning. LeBron calls Aaron saying that he hurt his ankle at the gym and needs him to check it out. So Aaron goes there and this next scene makes me so angry. Basically, they're giving Aaron an intervention claiming he was the one who ruined things with Amy. So I'm just gonna go through bullet by bullet what they say and why they are literally wrong. Amy goes to her sister's house and finally apologizes for being an ass. Then she has a cute little bonding moment with Alistair, and then after a family hug, we get another montage. This time, it's of Amy changing her ways, instead of Amy over the course of the movie slowly changing. She sends her article to Vanity Fair and they publish it, and Aaron gets a copy and reads it. Okay, in all honesty, I thought that when Amari plays basketball after his surgery, it would have been like, it would have had a bit more screen time because they've been building up to it as if it was this huge deal, but the scene is over like really quick. He's fine and it went well. After the game, Amy surprises Aaron and does a little dance with the cheerleaders that will take away women's rights with their twerking. And they make up and then basically bang on the mat. Also, Aaron tearing up at Uptown Girls. Stop, he's so cute. Plus, I'm not gonna lie, Amy looks very cute in that uniform. Or cheerleader uniform? Whatever it's called. Anyway. Yay, the movie's over, so now let's talk about the problems. So first of all, there are a lot of scenes that either go on too long or just don't need to be there. This movie is 2 hours and 4 minutes long, and it did not need to be. Like, there's a scene at the beginning of Amy and her work friend in the bathroom talking about which version of Johnny Depp they'd like to sleep with the most. It didn't serve the plot, and we don't actually learn anything about the characters from it. Another scene was the weird, dirty, sex talk scene. It just wasn't actually important to the plot. None of what happened in those two scenes comes into play later in the movie. And the scene where Amy and John are at the movies, I skimmed over it because it goes on for so long, because John gets into an argument with some other guy and they make a bunch of weird homophobic jokes, and then Amy leaves and then comes back, John finds the phone, then they go outside and argue and he dumps her. Like, it's so long. And the weird dog movie, they made a little dog movie with Daniel Radcliffe that plays for way too long. A lot of times the fake movie will usually be a metaphor or a mirror to the characters in an actual movie, but from what I can tell, that isn't the case here. It's just there. There's also a few small scenes with where Amy's friends with a homeless guy or something, but all of his lines in scene are weird and kind of irrelevant. Even in some scenes that I like, there's just a lot of time spent on trying to cram jokes into a scene and not enough time spent on developing the plot and characters. For example, the montage of them being in love. I wish we could have just seen more scenes of them in love because it doesn't really establish them as a couple well enough. I forgot that they had even been together for a little while because so little time is spent on developing their relationship. We've seen them bond a bit, yes, but then after the montage comes all of their issues, then the breakup. So I just wish we got to see more of them being in love instead of rushing through it via montage. Now let's talk deleted scenes, specifically one deleted scene. This scene would have been right before Aaron and LeBron are playing basketball. It starts with Aaron writing his acceptance speech for his award, and he talks about how he's really nervous about it. Amy is helping him write it, and she makes it funnier by adding some jokes. And he's like,
you know, I was really afraid of doing this, and now I'm slightly less afraid because this is actually really good.
You should look forward to it.
Can I give it to you? Can I just do the speech to you?
Yeah,
okay.
Just deliver it like you're saying it just to me.
Seriously, I'm being honest. Can I just do the speech to you? That would make me really comfortable.
Totally.
Yeah?
I will be there.
Okay. You're awesome, and that's why I love you. You put yourself out there, you're gonna be a great editor. You just gotta think that you can do it. You're funny, you're smart.
And then Amy gets uncomfortable and is like, hey, let's go drinking. And he's like, I have a conference tomorrow, I can't get too drunk. And she's like, you have a conference at noon tomorrow.
We're going out.
Where do you wanna go?
Anywhere you want.
I get to pick?
You pick.
So they go, and Amy immediately shits on Aaron's choice of bar.
I read about this place in Zagat's. It's a real New York spot. It's supposed to be good.
This place is a bag of dicks. We're going somewhere else.
Right.
And drags him to 3 other ones. Eventually they both get very drunk and go to a little club where a rock band is playing, and they dance and make out, and it's honestly really cute. They claim they cut it out because Aaron acts too out of character, but he only does that at the end. Anyway, there are lots of moments in this movie that shows us that he has a silly side, and it was just great to see him let loose and come out of his shell in this scene. It helps establish their bond, and we see that he has a playful side that vibes well with Amy's personality. And I feel like every rom-com has that one scene where there's the couple's perfect little kiss, usually in the rain. Anyway, this kiss would have been it for this movie. I realized they didn't have a moment like that until I saw this deleted scene, and I was like, oh, they cut it out. Like the lighting, the atmosphere, the cinematography, the way everyone else is dancing as they kiss, it was adorable and shows us how in love they really are. This is where they should have cut the scene down and left it in the movie, because then it just gets crazy and they steal a horse, and it's funny, but it makes no sense. Also, this is like the only time in the movie we hear Bill's iconic cute little giggle, and they cut it out. That's a sin against God.
Wake up like this.
I did that once.
Yeah, you'll be asleep and then you just go.
I want to attack the day. I like that you can pump my stomach if I need that.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
have, and I will.
Oh, good. I like that you think I'm funny.
I do think you're funny.
They should have kept this scene in. It adds context to their fight, and it makes Aaron's anger make way more sense. Because without it, Aaron just seems unreasonably angry.
You knew I wanted to do that speech to you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I really didn't want to miss it, but I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my job right now.
But it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have your phone on in the middle of my speech anyway. That was just so disrespectful, Amy.
They claim they cut it out because after the concert, when they steal the horse, Aaron acts too out of character, which I agree with, but, as I said, just cut it at the concert. It was a really cute moment and really showed us how much they loved each other. They kept in John Cena's ass and him threatening that guy and all the other crap that had no relevance to the plot or characters, but deleted this scene? Why? Another part that didn't really make that much sense was when Amy said she was going to lose her job during the fight scene. That confused me because up until that point, we haven't really seen anything to suggest that. Her boss told her she was cutting the Aaron article and told Amy to write a new one, and then the phone call happened, and that's kind of it. Now let's talk about the characters. Amy Townsend. I think with Amy's character, they were going for a lovable asshole. A girl who's hard on the outside and soft on the inside. She's just damaged and has to learn to grow up. An alcoholic with a heart of gold. The only problem is, she isn't any of those things. She's just an asshole. Like, she's rude, selfish, petty, she gets defensive very often.
I really can't take you seriously when you're holding that. Why'd you carry your award out here? You don't have to carry it around like Anne Hathaway at an Oscar party. Can you put it down so...
She's immature, a little lazy, kind of homophobic and racist. She kind of lies a lot, or at least has a hard time telling the truth. And dude, the amount of internalized misogyny... Wow.
You're gonna lose us the right to vote!
She has a very I'm not like other girls energy that isn't cute. She constantly makes fun of everyone's interests or desires, like Aaron's favorite song, Kim getting pregnant, Kim's friends, and John wanting a family. She constantly defends their piece of shit dad throughout the whole movie no matter what he does or says. She can't apologize and deflects all the time. Literally kept Aaron up all night before an important surgery over a petty fight just because she refused to apologize. However, some of this is due to her fear of vulnerability and her fear of commitment caused by her piece of shit dad who she worships, and I think a lot of her projection and deflection is because she is genuinely afraid to fall in love because she's afraid it'll turn out just like her parents' failed marriage. But that doesn't mean she has to treat everyone in her life like shit. If she's not being a total dick, she's just kind of casual with people, polite for polite's sake, and we don't see those moments very often. And she doesn't start off immediately being rude to Aaron, but it's also not like she's super friendly with him. It doesn't even seem like she really likes him until after he helps with her dad. I wish that instead of cute moments where he's always helping her, we got at least one moment where she helps him. Oh wait, they had a scene like that, but deleted it! Another small thing that kind of annoys me is that in the fight scene, Amy is the epitome of the nagging woman trope, which is a sexist trope to make women look hysterical and overdramatic. Anyway, to summarize, good examples of the lovable asshole: Eleanor Shellstrop, Dee Reynolds, Jade West, Willie McLean, Coach McGurk. Not a good example, Amy Townsend! Aaron Connors. He is baby girl. No, but seriously, Aaron is a very kind and caring guy. He's really nice, patient, and polite to everyone, despite how they treat him. He loves helping others, he's generous, he's funny. He's also delusional, because he constantly is talking about how Amy is so awesome and how he loves her, and I'm like, why? She's kind of awful, even to you. Like, I find it hard to believe that a person like Aaron would like a person like Amy. In the scene with the treadmill, he just looks annoyed with her. Aaron is also a very direct and clear communicator. He's honest and isn't afraid to call Amy out on her bullshit. He's a lot more mature and serious than Amy, and I like the idea of that. I like the idea of these characters. I just think they should have made Amy have more moments where we receive positive attributes. Which brings me to a problem with Aaron. He doesn't really have flaws? I mean, he can be a bit socially awkward at times, and I guess he can be too serious, but we never actually see that come back to bite him in the ass. They attempted to point out his flaws in that one bullshit scene, but I already went over that. I wish they gave him some real flaws like Amy and gave Amy less flaws. They need to balance each other out, and they don't. Like, for example, Aaron mentioned several times in the movie that he's nervous about certain things, the interview, the speech, etc., and how his parents put pressure on him, which probably contributes to his anxiety and perfectionism and people-pleaser tendencies. So they could have maybe done something with that. And they almost did in the scene with the dress. He kind of gets frustrated at Amy.
Would you grab my tiara? It's right next to my pearls and
Forget I said anything. Forget I said anything. I didn't mean anything. I know nothing about fashion.
And we could have seen a little more of that. Like maybe he lets his anxieties get the best of him and he snaps at people, and that could have added some conflict, but they didn't. Another issue that I personally have is that while Bill Hader and Amy Schumer do have a chemistry, I don't think it's a romantic one. I just don't buy that they're genuinely in love. Like, both of them are good actors, but Amy's kind of rude to him the whole movie, and I don't understand why he, in his own words, is crazy about Amy. He talks about how she's so awesome, but we don't actually see that. We caught a glimpse of them being in love in that montage, but we never see her do anything for Aaron the way that we see him doing things for her. I'm not saying that she has to do everything for him, since women are often expected to, but I do think there needs to be a bit more balance there. Oh wait, they had a scene like that, but deleted it! The dad. He's awful, he's racist, he's sexist, he's homophobic. He literally is not nice to a single person in this movie. He's supposed to be a lovable asshole, but again, he's just a regular one. And then he just dies and we're supposed to feel bad? Like, I am not wasting any more breath on him. He has no redeeming qualities. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the jokes and the humor. It's 2015 Amy Schumer movie, so obviously there's gonna be a lot of racist, homophobic, and misogynistic jokes. In the scene with John and Amy at the movies, the jokes go on for far too long. He keeps trying to threaten this guy, but they're all really sexual, and it was just so unnecessary. Then there's the scene where Amy is talking to Kim, saying she really likes Aaron and is afraid of scaring him off by leaving a bloody tampon in the toilet. Okay, a couple things. It goes on too long. Pick the funniest joke and go with it. Number 2. He's a surgeon. You just puked watching him sew up a leg. Like, if he is grossed out by it, dump his ass. Now, I will admit that there are some jokes that I laughed at.
Very nervous. Stop smiling. Stop smiling. That's even more. Nikki.
The more nervous I get, the more I smile, so.
Stop smiling. Sit down. Come on. Bring it down. Bring it down. That's it. I'm sick of your ginger nonsense.
I had a black boyfriend once.
Your mother must be proud.
This makes me wish they'd found our father's remains.
So lastly, ways it could have been better. More bonding moments between Amy and Aaron. Give Aaron some real flaws, flesh him out a little. Keep that goddamn deleted scene that was literally important to the plot. Just cut out the part with that stupid fucking horse. Cut down some of the jokes, they go on for so long. I wish that after Aaron asked to read some of her other work, we could have had that happen. Make her dad less of an asshole. Make Amy less of an asshole. Cut out the weird scene with the minor. I wish Amy and Aaron both changed slowly over the course of the movie instead of just Amy in one short montage.
That's the video. I hope you like it, and I hope I didn't ramble for too long, and I hope I'm not that annoying. Thumbs down, unsubscribe, leave a hate comment,